The beige mansion loomed like a fortress of solitude, its grandeur masking the emptiness within. For over a year, the halls echoed only with the soft hum of grief. 5-year-old Emily, a white girl with unruly blonde curls and luminous hazel eyes, was confined to a black wheelchair, her legs stilled by a tragic car accident. Once a spark of boundless energy, she now gazed out of towering windows, her world reduced to the view beyond her reach. Her father, Richard Hale, a tall man in his early 40s with chiseled features and an immaculate white suit, had poured his fortune into her recovery, top doctors, experimental treatments, therapies across continents. But nothing could mend the fracture in his daughter's spirit or his own crumbling belief that money could solve anything. On a golden afternoon, Richard stepped into the mansion's front garden, expecting the familiar sight of Emily, silent and withdrawn, perhaps with a book untouched in her lap. Instead, a sound stopped him cold: laughter, bright and unbridled, spilling from his daughter like a melody he thought he'd never hear again. Emily's face was alight, her hands clapping with a fervor he hadn't seen since before the accident. Before her danced a boy, no older than 9, his bare feet dusty against the grass, his bronze skin glowing under the sun. His oversized olive-brown t-shirt and shorts hung loosely on his slight frame, but his movements were electric, exaggerated spins, playful stumbles, and wild gestures that dared Emily not to laugh. She did, harder than ever, her hazel eyes sparkling with life. Richard's first instinct was fury. Who was this intruder on his private estate? How had he slipped past the gates? He took a step forward, his polished shoes pressing into the lawn, ready to demand answers. But then he saw Emily, leaning forward, her back straighter than it had been in months, her arms mimicking the boy's silly moves, her toes twitching in her open sandals. It was the most alive she'd been since the crash. The boy caught Richard's gaze, and instead of bolting, he flashed a mischievous grin, spun in a dramatic circle, and bowed like a stage performer. Emily clapped wildly, her joy infectious. Richard retreated behind a marble column, his heart pounding. He couldn't break this moment. Not yet. The boy danced on, tumbling to the grass, springing up, his eyes locked on Emily as if she were the only audience that mattered. Her laughter rang out, tears of joy streaking her cheeks, a sight Richard hadn't witnessed since the accident stole her spark. He gripped the column, torn between his need to control the situation and the fear of shattering this fragile miracle. Who was this boy? Why was he here? And why did it feel like Emily was coming back to life? The next day, Richard didn't hide. Emily was already in the garden, her face expectant, her eyes darting toward the gates. As if on cue, the boy slipped through a gap in the hedge, his bare feet silent, his clothes dustier than before. Ready for the show? He called to Emily, his grin wide. She squealed, clapping eagerly. But before he could begin, Richard stepped forward. The boy froze, his smile fading, his eyes flicking to the gate as if plotting an escape. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "I didn't mean." "It's okay," Richard said, his voice firm but gentle. "I just want to talk." Emily's voice cut through, sharp with panic. "Daddy, don't make him go. He's my friend." Richard knelt to the boy's level. "What's your name?" "Jay," the boy replied, hesitant. "I'm 9, I think." "You think?" Jay's gaze dropped. "Nobody ever told me for sure. No birthday cakes or anything." Richard's chest tightened. "Where do you live?" "Around," Jay said softly. "The old bus station sometimes. Or the laundry room at the apartments if it's empty." Emily's hands gripped her wheelchair. "He's not bad, Daddy. He makes me happy." Richard looked at his daughter, her flushed cheeks, her upright posture, the fire in her eyes, and knew she was right. "Why did you come here, Jay?" "I heard music from the garden," Jay said, his voice small. "I saw her watching, but she looked so sad. I started dancing to make her smile. Then she asked for more, so I came closer. I wasn't stealing, sir. She needed it." Richard studied the boy, then turned to Emily. "Sweetheart, how do you feel right now?" "Happy," she said instantly. "Like I can move again, even if I can't." Richard's eyes fell to her feet. Her toes twitched, faintly, but undeniably real. His breath caught. Over the next week, Richard didn't send Jay away. He instructed the guards to let him in each afternoon. Jay arrived, sometimes with scraps of food he'd scavenged, always with boundless energy. He danced, told wild stories, pulled funny faces. Emily joined in, lifting her arms, spinning her chair in small circles, her laughter filling the garden. Her doctor, after a checkup, was floored. "Whatever you're doing," he told Richard, "keep it up. This kind of emotional spark, it's rare, and it's working." One evening, as Jay danced to a jazzy tune from the garden speakers, Emily gripped her armrests, pushed with all her might, and lifted herself halfway out of her chair. Richard froze. She held herself there for 3 seconds before collapsing back, breathless but beaming. "I did it," she gasped. Jay whooped, spinning wildly before dropping to his knees beside her. "You're amazing." Richard knelt too, his throat tight. "You are," he said, brushing a curl from her forehead. Then he looked at Jay. "And so are you." That night, Richard found Jay on the mansion's back steps, small against the sprawling estate. "You can't keep living like this," Richard said. Jay shrugged. "It's all I know." "Not anymore," Richard said firmly. "You live here now. A room, meals, clothes, school. You'll be part of this family." Jay's eyes widened. "Why? You don't even know me." Richard's voice softened. "Because you gave my daughter something no doctor or dollar could. You gave her hope. And I won't let the boy who did that sleep on the streets." Jay looked away, but not before Richard saw the glint of tears. The next day, the garden was alive again, Jay dancing, Emily clapping, and Richard watching, a quiet smile breaking through his guarded heart. The mansion no longer felt like a tomb. It felt like home.